doing anthropology, and it was in my second year that I dropped out of that course without consulting my parents, and I opted for my love. And nobody knew. My father thought I was studying anthropology and I was going to graduate with a Bachelor in Social Sciences. Only on graduation day, he showed up in his suit, and we were going to campus for the graduation, and told him, Muzei means old man. He said, Muzei, you know, I'm graduating in music, dance, and drama. I said, damn, I'm not going. He didn't go with me. He was mad at me until a few years later when I got real successful. And he said, son, maybe you were right. So yeah, I was an artist for a long time. I was comfortable. I only went to law school because of a fundamental decision that I had taken to get involved in politics, but I needed some training. So I went to law school in 2016. Now that follows so many reasons that drove me to politics, which will take me so long to delve into. However, I took that decision in 2016 to go back to law school. And when I went to law school, guess what I found? I found this new professor who was a young graduate from Harvard. He had just earned his master's degree in law from the Harvard Law School. We became friends and started having conversations, you know, about the country and the trajectory it was taken, and we saw how, there was no constitutionalism in our country. So, towards the end of the first year, we saw that General Museveni was trying to change the constitution to make himself stay forever, and the lawlessness and everything. So the student and the professor agreed that it does not make sense to study law, to study constitutional law in a country that had no constitutionalism. We both left law school and formed a political movement called People Power. Yeah, and you know, that's how People Power
So let me ask a question then. My next question is really about the connection between activism and the sort of movement politics of People Power and the decision to formalize it in a political party in a country that has such a fraught relationship, shall we say. We'll get into the details. But
yeah.
A fraught relationship with elections, of democracy. Are there trade-offs in the sort of activist movement approach and the formal party politics approach, and what made it worth it for you to formalize?
Yeah. Actually, it's a huge trade-off, I must say. I was an activist into activism. I believed in it. I still believe in it. Actually, when I chose to run for parliament, there were many political parties, the ruling party and formidable opposition parties. While the NRM was a ruling party, we had the FDC led by Dr. Kizza Besigye, powerful opposition party, the main leading opposition party then. We had the Democratic Party, the historical opposition party, Uganda People's Congress and all that. But the youthful me, with that fire that was burning in me, believed, as I believe now, that the solution did not lie in a political party. And there was a lot of, polarization among political parties. So I decided to run independent on an activism card. I won the election against the main political party and the main opposition party with 80% of the vote. You know, that spoke to me, and it is the gospel that we had been pushing to our nation, saying now Uganda's need is not another political party, but a formidable force of the people. And we went ahead to form the People Power movement. This encompassed membership and supporters from all across the divide, from all political parties, mainly opposition political parties. It went on like that until when circumstances determined that I ran for president in 2021. Now this is where the formalization came, that I needed a symbol, not just for me, but a symbol for me and all those that were running on the squads, because some opposition, most of them are not intending or are not targeting removal of the regime, but just to up their status within the regime. So we very cunningly and creatively co-opted an unknown political party. It was called National Unity Development Conciliation Party. Silently and through a proxy, we changed its name, changed its colors to our preferred colors. She also changed the symbol, and we held a secret delegates conference, and I took over the leadership. Why did we do that? Because the regime, we wanted to formalize the People Power movement and turn it into a political party, but the regime gave an order not to register us as a political party because they knew what it would turn up. Anyway, fast forward, we took over this new political party, and in a shocking revelation, we held a press conference and said, ladies and gentlemen, now we have a new political party, and we held a secret delegates conference, and here I am. I'm the president of that party, and the nation went into a frenzy. Now, this was just a month and a half towards the main election. We were able to nominate on that political party, and we won the election, although it was rigged. We got many more members of parliament, and we suddenly became the leading opposition political party. Yeah.
So I wanted to come to that election.
I must mention this, I'm sorry. I must mention this to draw clarity between activism and former political party. We have said it before that we are not a political party, and yes, we are not. We just have a political party. We took over that political party to have a formal and legal platform, an electoral platform as a political party. But to solve our problem, we are the People Power movement, not the National Unity Platform. We just have a political party, but we are a movement. I don't know if I make it more clear.
Yes, no, I understand. I mean, I think also what you just demonstrated, it's almost like show, don't tell, the link between theater, which is the like reveal of who we are, the colors, the flag, the icon of the party, and the law, which is you have to find a path. It has to be something that's not obvious because there was an attempt to deny you the right to register. So those trainings served you well. At the end of the day, you're still a lawyer and a theater and music.
Drama school did it. Drama school did it.
So I wanted to dig into the election a little bit because we have many sort of politically minded people in the room. I hope all of you will actually contest power, do the hard thing. You can ask our guests today what it's like. But in January of this year, President Yoweri Museveni was declared the winner of the presidential elections, marking his 40th year in office. There were widespread allegations of human rights abuses, fraud. We heard about the abuse and torture that you and your family have experienced, and for that, we're so sorry. You were declared officially the runner-up. Can you walk us through what the experience is like contesting elections that you know are not free and fair, and what was gained in spite of that?
Yeah, it's a long story. I wish I could, in just half a minute, take us back to 2021, because that was the first time I ran for president. I was aware of General Museveni. I was aware of how captured all institutions are, including the police and the military, the parliament, everything. And indeed, in Uganda, like some other places in Africa, running or contesting against General Museveni is contesting against the Uganda People's Defense Forces, the Uganda Police, the Bank of Uganda, every institution of state. You can see this. Just yesterday, his son, General Muhoozi, who is the Chief of Defense Forces, had his birthday, and all soldiers were ordered to put on his t-shirt and go running. This included some ministers, some generals, and he's always on Twitter,
X,
speaking his mind. However, although it might come off to many of us, and he was ordering all former military commanders to show up if they don't want to have a problem. Anyway, so we went to that election. I went into that election because our major goal at that time was to bring our common people close to their politics. You see, we come from a country that for a very long time has made an effort to disassociate politics from the common people. And the common people are the masses, to the extent that they didn't know, neither did they care about how they are governed. But in 2021, we were able to awaken the people and show them the importance of politics and why they must come out and vote. And indeed we won, but it was, rigged. So coming back to contest in 2026 was a huge debate. Personally, I had endured so much. I'd seen hundreds of my friends killed. For example, on 19th and 18th of November 2021, hundreds were massacred on the streets, although the government only acknowledged killing 54. So I didn't want to run again. But again, we needed to use the election. Again, since it's the only opportunity, we get to speak to the people. We are heavily gagged, heavily controlled, heavily, intercepted everywhere. So we ran again. This time we had a mission to unite the people of Uganda, but also to be able to reach every corner of the country. That was our only excuse to speak to the people, because I was a presidential candidate. And indeed, the presidential campaign was given 112 days, and I was campaigning every single day of those 112 days. I reached every corner of the country. Of course, I made tear gas and bullets. And we were able, to once again awaken the people of Uganda. Of course, it called for more brutality now, because the people were more charged. As we speak now, people are being abducted. As a matter of fact, as soon as we cast our vote and returned home, we were immediately surrounded by the military. We knew it would happen, but this time it was more, because by the time we had the election, the internet was switched off 2 days before. Radios and TVs were switched off, those that were not pro-regime. Journalists were ordered not to cover the election. And we went into the election. So here we are, my wife and I, locked up in our house and surrounded by the military. The following day, we were raided by the military on the orders of the Chief of Defense Forces. And that night, because I had learned a lesson in 2021, I had anticipated that raid. And our friendly people within the forces had warned us that there was an order from the Chief of Defense Forces, who is the son of the president, that I should be disabled fundamentally. Whatever that meant, for me, it rang a bell. So I played a ninja role and disappeared from my house. We call it rubber dub style. On the 16th, they didn't get me, but that day they did not break into my house. I remained at large. I wanted to be able to charge up my people, to be able to communicate, because I knew they would lock me in my house, cut off the internet, and isolate me from the rest of the world. That went on for another week. Now, on the 23rd of January 2026, after looking for me for a week and a few days, and they couldn't find me, the son of the president got so angry that he raided. This time they broke into my wife, beat her so bad, they beat my family members, they stripped my wife naked. Meanwhile, they were filming and taking pictures, the same pictures that later on Museveni's son, who is the Chief of Defense Forces, tweeted in his, usual tweets, erratic tweets, for lack of a better word, saying this is BOBI's wife when we captured her. Now, those who don't know Muhoozi Kainerugaba, let me give him free marketing. Please follow him on Twitter. He's Muhoozi Kainerugaba. It will help for you to see what he does. Many of you know about the story of Idi Amin. We have a new one who is more crude. He does not pretend, unlike his father, he does not pretend to be a good dictator. He said on Twitter that he would abduct my bodyguard, torture him, And he did that. Stripped him, shaved him, his beard and hair, and put him on Twitter. He does that. He has bragged for killing 23 of my friends, and he was looking for me to be the 24th dead body. He once again also ordered me to show up in 24 hours or they will find me and kill me. And when I didn't show up, he gave an order publicly that I should be delivered dead or alive. He also ordered publicly that I should be castrated. So the military and the police mounted roadblocks everywhere in the country.
He wanted your balls.
Looking for me. Yeah, looking for me. When they didn't find me, they kept raiding my friends, members of parliament and all that. He raided the home of my personal assistant when he didn't find me, because he was looking for me. When he didn't find me, they abducted the wife and kept her in a military barracks for 37 days. And in those days, we don't know to the extent what exactly took on, but she told us, among other things, that they removed her contraceptive, her IUD from her. This is a military barracks, and many other things. So, knowing that, I knew that the first time they get their hands on me, I was a dead man. Once again, I played James Bond. And in a Robert Up style, exited the country, and here I am. Yeah.
Many people are very grateful that you're here today, but it's also, I know, a heavy weight to be in exile. So I wanted to ask, how are we doing on time? I have a few questions, and then I'll hand it over. I mean, just building on these terrible stories of violence and harm, what does keep you going? What makes it worth it for you, especially if you feel like you can't be safely in the country at this moment?
Hope. Hope that one day everything's going to be all right. And the belief that oppressed people can't stay oppressed forever. I mean, we look back in history where we are, so many countries have been there. Kenya was there in the days of Moi. Many other countries have been there, but with the persistence of their citizens, they win. And also the enormous support that we enjoy. You see, while many people focus on my own challenges, but I must say that I'm way better than those that we struggle together with. For example, I mean, I have international attention on me, and I'm more like having a spotlight on me. My challenges tend to be shared many times. When I made my way to America, I mean, I have the luxury of having a passport and a visa and affording an air ticket, or having friends that can get me an air ticket to get out of danger. But even when I come to the diaspora, for example, I ran out of my country, my wife left first, we are here in a foreign land, with our 4 children, but we are being embraced. One thing I did not mention, that when the military raided and beat up my house and she ended up in hospital, she escaped from her hospital bed to be able to leave the country. Meanwhile, the military took over, not the home, not surrounding the home, but broke into the house and started living. Those that, there was one gardener that stayed there, and every now and then would see soldiers moving out of my house in my clothes. So it would be funny if it wasn't sad, but we were able to go past that. So the hope and the support that we get from the people that are even more oppressed than myself, I mean, the common people, that alone keeps us going. When I was in hiding, I would just show up in people's houses and they would, let me in. There's this one time when I was moving with my mask and showed up, whenever I show up and say, it's Bobi Wine, shh, everybody fits in. I mean, it's like we have known each other for a long time. There's this Muslim woman whose house I ran into while they were chasing us. She screamed, "Oh my God!" And they say, "It's Bobby Wine." Suddenly she went quiet.
I know.
So for me, that is one thing that keeps me going. The faith that people have in this that we believe in, the support that we enjoy, the fact that the millions of people are involved in this, young, old, men, women, rural, urban, educated, uneducated. Everybody sees this as an opportunity for us to get together and overcome it. The struggle has been taken from the intellectuals way down to the masses. It has been owned by the people, the border riders, the farmers, the barbers, the vendors in the market. That alone gives me hope that this is going to go well and we're going to win. So that alone is one fuel that keeps me moving on.
Thank you. So I'll ask my last question and then I'll open the floor. I was supposed to be moderating a conversation with activists from Tanzania recently, and for their own security, we had to cancel the discussion. And so I wanted to ask kind of what your assessment is of the landscape across the Great Lakes region, East Africa, and even across Africa or the world, whatever level resonates for you. I mean, Uganda is in some ways not exceptional. Your story, your individuality, the movement is exceptional, and yet we see this sort of democracy needing to move into movement rather than be able to contest elections, authoritarians, validating election results that seek to give themselves legitimacy. People talk about backsliding, they talk about rising authoritarianism, but you're sort of at the front of the mind of what do you see in the region and what do you think is going to happen next with the young people?
Thank you. Uganda is not a special case. This is a challenge that is in not only the Great Lakes region, but all over Africa, and it's very sad. As a matter of fact, when I escaped out of my country, many are people that present themselves with a badge of Pan-Africanism criticized me so much for running to the white man's land, for running to the colonialists. I mean, that's not where our solution is. They would probably escape me to run to Kenya or Tanzania or any African country, and I would love to, But as we speak right now, the dictatorship in Uganda has and continues to export itself to many other parts of Africa. And that is the danger of dictatorship, like Martin Luther King when he said injustice everywhere, anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. In the current times, a dictatorship anywhere is a threat to democracy everywhere, because it emboldens other dictators that it's actually possible you can do it and get away with it. I mean, back in the day, Africa was safe. The freedom fighters in Uganda, those who fought against Idi Amin, they didn't have to run to America, they just ran to Tanzania. As a matter of fact, Tanzania helped us get rid of Idi Amin. I wish we could be moving forward and not backwards. Museveni himself and our fathers that were fighting against the Obote government, they would run to Kenya because Kenya was safe. Just over a year and a half ago, Dr. Kizza Besigye, a veteran, iconic freedom fighter in Uganda, was abducted from Kenya by Ugandan security with assistance with the Kenyan security. He was driven in a car trunk, in a car book, across the border illegally and charged in a pseudo-military court, in a kangaroo court in Uganda. Activists from Tanzania are being tortured. Those that come from Uganda and went to Kenya, there was, our brothers and sisters that went to Kenya, that went to Tanzania. Many of them got tortured for days, sexually assaulted, and men, they were sodomized, It is sad that now, East Africa in particular is being reduced. The East African community is being reduced to a president's club to keep each other safe in power. It's not like the way it used to be. The longer people stay in power, is the more they get spoiled. I think when we're having a conversation Earlier on, I told you that I was named after Robert Mugabe. He was a prized revolutionary. He was a great guy that people admired. Unfortunately, by the time he died, he had degenerated to a despised dictator. And over the time, it was no longer pride to share a name with him. That's why I even changed my name to Bob, because Bob was better than Robert, although it meant the same. So my point here is that the region is not as safe as should be. We find ourselves running away from home and running much further from even the continent because it's not safe at all, because democracy is dying, because dictators are looking out for each other and trying to squeeze life out of all those that try to empower people and try to keep the democratic candle burning.
All right, the floor is open. I'll ask that you please keep your questions rather than speeches, and please keep them brief, and introduce yourself. Is it okay if we take two at a time? Because I see we have a large audience. Okay. So we'll start here in the front, and then I'll come to the next person in the front, and then I'll go to the back and try to be democratic and inclusive.
Hi, thank you so much for your...
Could you stand just so everyone
Okay,
can
yeah, my name is David. I'm a second-year grad student at Harvard here. I'm actually taking a class with Dr. Marks now. And we watched your video in one of our classes where you were singing. And my question actually borders on that. And, you know, it sounded very Christian, right? I saw that very Christian, right? Christianity, like you do so much on Christian imageries, basically. And even right here, you've mentioned things like gospel, servant leadership, and things like that. And so I just wanted you to maybe talk about, is there any influence that Christianity has had on you in this movement so far? Or how are you actually drawing on these influences? Because I know that Christianity is probably 80 to 84% of the population in Uganda. So what does that actually do to your activism? And also, one of the things that we know within activisms like this is that there are a lot of people who often are against religion, who think that religion is part of the reasons why people are actually choosing this dictatorship. Is there anything like this also in this movement where people are against that? Or maybe just the paradox of that religion within your activist movement?
Really interesting question.
Let's take one more from the gentleman in the hat.
Yes, my name is William Nyende. I got a master's in health informatics from Northeastern and an IT degree from Northeastern. When I was doing my master's, they taught us how to summarize 600 pages into a picture.